So
for
what
like
I want
the
you to
third
do,
time. Yeah.
So what I want you to do is I want you to reach into your mental fanny pack and give these new and up-and-comers a bit of philosophy to take with them.
Okay. My philosophy on wrestling, right?
Yes. All right, wait a minute. No, it can be on life. Anything you want.
Okay. All right. My fanny pack, what is it called again? The fanny pack what?
Philosophy.
The fanny pack philosophy. I like that. The fanny pack philosophy is this. If you sign up to be a wrestler, if you choose that this is what you want to do, never lose sight of the fact that you're choosing to entertain someone. You're choosing to make someone happy. On the independent circuit, tickets are typically fairly inexpensive, and a lot of times those people don't have a dime. Take for an example, somebody gave them some money and said, hey, you need to, they're down on their luck or whatever, and they say, hey, get out of the house, go see a wrestling show. And you get there, and it's your job to entertain them. Never forget that it's your job to entertain people. And why? Because they want to be entertained, or they wouldn't be there, right? You wouldn't have fans. They want to be entertained. Be respectful to the fans. Even if you're a bad guy, still carry that level of respect and carry yourself professionally. Also, train. Get in the ring with whoever you can, whenever you can. Talk about wrestling. Develop your skill set. Develop your style. But above all else, train and continue to educate yourself. To this day, I continue to educate myself about wrestling. And that's the one thing. It's a never-ending process as far as I'm concerned. Now, a lot of people, will differ with that, but I feel that you should always try at some form. You may outgrow or be beyond like a basic level seminar. So there are more in-depth seminars that are out there, more in-depth people that you can talk to. So always continue to improve yourself and never lose sight of what you're there for.
The first place that I ever saw you, do you remember where that's at?
I have no idea. I've been hitting the head a lot.
I saw you at HVW.
Huh?
And it was in the building there in Hendersonville when they had the upstairs where everybody would go and dress and that sort of thing. The first memory that I have of you is being gashed open and being sewn up right there in the building.
That happened. That actually happened. It was a giant 6-man hardcore match. Took a very, very, very bad chair shot. The ropes were barbed wire. There was glass everywhere. It was just rough, and I got draped over the barbed wire by James Drake, I believe. Once again, the guy from my first match there, serial killer Chris Roper, inadvertently, it was a total accident, but I always make him feel bad about it, but it was a total accident. Hit me in the head and gashed me completely open, and this was one of those days where I reverted back to that. Remember we were talking earlier about cracking the ribs and saying, oh, Lord, this is the only time in my wrestling career where I reached up, touched my head, and my finger went under my scalp, and I was like, you know what? I believe I'm done wrestling tonight. And so laid down in the back and got stitched up in the back on a nasty-ass table in the back and used Purell as a disinfectant. And I had a stitch kit that I'd acquired. And, seriously just got stitched up laying back there on the back table.
One thing that I remember about that also is while you were being stitched up, Blake Arledge was there, and he put a robe on, but he pulls up the hood, and he says, welcome to the dark side.
This is the Overlord of the Wasteland, the engineer of combat, the big boss with the hot sauce, Ricky Regal.
This is Samantha Starr, the perfect knockout.
What's up, everyone? It's the meatball himself, Tommy Capone. You're listening to the CIW Report right here on Spreaker.com.
PWX Wrestling. Live the experience.
It's time for your PWX Word of the Week. Excitement. There's your code word. Now go to PWXPro.com, click on Ticket at the top of the page, and enter excitement as your code word. There will be 2 winners a week. Head on over to PWXPro.com for your chance to be a part of Rise of a Champion 10.
Getting your child home safely.
Tap your views together 3 times.
Is just a click away.
There's no place like home.
But making sure your child is in the right seat is just one of the steps down the road to safer travels.
I don't know how it works.
Find the right seat for your little one's age and size. There's no better way to get home safely. Know for sure that your child is in the right seat.
How can I ever thank you enough?
Get all the facts at safercar.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Now to more of our interview from this week's featured guest, on the CIW Report. You were with HVW for some time, and again, this was the happening place to be when I first met you. What made HVW what it was?
I tell you what made HVW was, it was one of their themes to every show was you never know what's going to happen, and you didn't know who was going to show up, who was going to be there, you know, who your opponent was going to be. A lot of times, it was just sheer madness. It was a lot like the good ECW shows, because every show that they ran, especially in that building, was just off the chain. You never knew. You had guys coming up from Charlotte. You had guys coming down from Virginia. You had people coming from all over the Mid-Atlantic area just to be in that little building and put on these amazing shows. The crowd could only sit at two sides of the ring, and the announcers sit at the edge of the one side, and you just never knew what was going to happen. It was a nice setup. It was a unique setup. And even in the next building they were in was a very unique setup. It was so cool. And it was a professionalism that they had. It was the first place that really had permanent structure that I'd wrestled in instead of an armory or a VFW or something, you know. It was very professional, very well presented, professional DJs, you know, good lighting. Everything was just like lightning in a bottle for a time there.
Looking more into that history, there was things that happened there. You had the conspiracy, you had the EOD, and then another stable that comes to mind is Violence.
Violence Party of Four, yes. That was a little faction that we ran there.
Which do you feel, put your biasness aside, which do you feel was the better faction?